Father Rowland, can you introduce yourself to all those who don't know you?
My name is Reverend Father Rowland Ifyanyi Nwakpuda from the Archdiocese of Abuja, Nigeria. I am an Islamic scholar studying in PISI, the Pontifical Institute for Islamic Studies and Arabic Studies in Rome, in Italy.
And can you tell us something about the church in Abuja Archdiocese?
The church in Abuja Archdiocese is quite a young church in comparison with the other dioceses, Catholic dioceses in Nigeria. But one peculiar thing about the church in Nigeria is the whole issue of dialogue, interreligious dialogue, which my Archbishop, Reverend Dr. John Onaikan, seemed to be in the forefront of trying to ensure that there's cordial relationship between Muslims and Christians in Nigeria, not just in Abuja, but in the entire federation.
But why are you studying Islam and Islam in Rome, where there is much more to do with Christianity itself?
Well, just as I had mentioned earlier on, we are pursuing interreligious dialogue. If you have been following the trend of things in Nigeria, you discover that of recent we are having serious problems between the two different major religions in Nigeria, Christianity and Islam. And we cannot understand or we cannot dialogue well with Islam unless we have a better knowledge of Islam as a religion and as a culture. This is what informed my studies in order to enhance the work that we have already started.
After all that you have heard and seen, especially in Nigeria, do you think that true or authentic interreligious dialogue is possible between Christians and Muslims in Africa in general, particularly in Nigeria?
Why not? I believe so and I hope so. Because if you go down history, you discover that Christians and Muslims have lived together peacefully, happily. Even at the early time, in fact, there was a time when Christians, especially the Arab Christians, felt much more secured in the arms of the Arab Muslims than their Christian brothers and sisters from Europe. So if we take a look at this and we could go back through history, we discover that it is possible. But the question is, how can this be achieved? And this is the whole aim of our work. We have to understand history and we have to see where things have gone wrong and see how we can make a better future.
Have you had experiences of Christian and Muslims staying together peacefully in Nigeria, or examples that can be followed by people elsewhere, but from the Nigerian perspective?
In some parts of Nigeria, interestingly, you could find Christians and Muslims living together happily. In the Middle Belt, for example, you could find a Christian man with a Muslim wife or a Christian woman with a Muslim husband. I think this is a perfect idea of interreligious marriage, which also is an example of the fact that we can live together. Though we know that in some areas where you have predominantly Muslim community, it could be frowned at, but it's not impossible, because even in the southern part of Nigeria, some part of the Yoruba land, you could find a family where you have a Christian, a Muslim, and even a traditionalist, and they coexist as brothers and sisters of the same family.
Father Roland, you have studied in Egypt for 2 years. You are fluent at Arabic, and it's most likely that you also have friends among the Muslims in Egypt and elsewhere. What is the reaction as they come to discover that As a Catholic priest, you've been studying Islam and the Quran.
This is an interesting question. Well, contrary to what you would expect, I have many Muslims who are very much happy about it, especially when they get to know the whole aim of my studies. Though there are also some who frown at it, especially those who are not good in Arabic and they feel maybe somehow challenged. But I think by and large, many Muslims are happy to see a priest studying their religion, not for the purpose of using it against them, but for the purpose of uniting or strengthening the relationship between them and their non-Muslim brothers and sisters.
So it is not an attempt or a fine way or a strategic way of trying to convert Muslims into Islam, into Christianity, sorry.
No, this is not the aim. The whole aim is about strengthening relationship, understanding one another. This is the whole aim of studying Islam. Just as you have also many Muslims who are studying Christianity because they want to understand the Christian religion. Of course, we can't rule out the possibility or the fact that some people may be studying it for different motives. But in this particular case, hand, this is our reason, this is my point of studying Islam, to understand Islam better and to see how I can make a difference in my own country.
A lot has been said about the current Pope, our Holy Father, Benedict XVI, in his relationship with Islam. Do you think that interreligious dialogue with the Muslims under Benedict XVI has made improvement, or we are going backwards?
Well, it all depends on the way you look at it, because some fellows would say, well, the relationship has been shattered by the Pope's statement in Rennesburg and so on and so forth. However, even some moderate Muslims would argue that if you go back to the word of the Pope, because this is the major problem. Many people never read what the Pope said. He was actually not speaking on himself, for himself. He was quoting an emperor. And what was the position of the Pope? Just like the emperor himself quoted, it was more or less a challenge to the Islamic community, a challenge in a positive light, asking them to join in the fight against Islamic fundamentalism and to bring out the good culture that Islam embodies. I have been studying Islam for quite a number of years now, and I have seen many cultural values that I feel that one should appreciate and make good use of. So I think this is the point that the Pope was trying to bring out, even though the history he referred to was a very controversial one and is packed of violence. But if you follow the trend of time, the invitation of the Islamic community, the common world issue, you discover that at the end of the day, there was a positive reaction. Because after that, now you have Christians and Muslims relating better. The Islamic community invited the Pope for a discussion, and up to this moment, we are having interactions with them, both in the Vatican and also in the Islamic world, trying to see how we can reach at a common word between us.